Nobody wakes up one random morning and suddenly loses everything overnight. It never happens that fast. It happens slowly, quietly, one small warning sign at a time, until the moment it finally becomes impossible to ignore any longer. The scary part is, most people see these exact signs every single day of their lives, and they quietly explain each one away without ever stopping to really look at what's actually happening underneath the surface. Here are 5 signs that someone might be quietly heading toward real financial trouble, what's usually causing each one, and what to actually do the moment you start noticing them in your own life. Sign number 1, you're living paycheck to paycheck, no matter how much money actually comes in every month. A raise finally arrives, and somehow the money still completely disappears before the next payday ever shows up. This usually isn't about income at all. It's about lifestyle quietly expanding right alongside it. A bigger paycheck buys a bigger apartment, a nicer car, and a few more subscriptions, until there's nothing left over at the very end. Picture checking a bank balance 3 days before payday and seeing barely enough left to cover basic groceries, even though last year's income, at a lower salary, would have made that same exact moment feel completely comfortable. The real warning sign isn't the number sitting in the account, it's the complete absence of any real gap between what comes in and what quietly goes right back out again every single month. Sign number 2, you're relying on credit cards or personal loans to cover ordinary, everyday expenses, not genuine emergencies. Groceries, gas, and monthly bills quietly start going on plastic instead of coming straight from a bank account. A single true emergency expense can usually be absorbed without much damage, but when credit quietly becomes the default way to pay for ordinary life, the balance grows a little more every month, and the minimum payment slowly becomes the new normal. Picture opening a credit card statement and realizing the balance has quietly crept up for the 4th month in a row, while the minimum payment somehow keeps feeling like the only realistic option left available. Debt used for a genuine emergency is simply a tool. Debt used to quietly fund an ordinary month is a slow, invisible leak that eventually turns into a much bigger problem than it first appeared to be. Sign number 3, there's no real emergency fund sitting anywhere at all, and one single unexpected expense would completely wipe out whatever savings currently exist, assuming any real savings exist in the first place. Without any kind of cushion, every ordinary surprise instantly becomes a full-blown crisis. A broken car, a sudden medical bill, or an unexpected job loss instantly turns from an inconvenience into a genuine financial emergency overnight. Picture a car suddenly breaking down out of nowhere, and instead of simply paying for the repair out of savings, the only real option left becomes another credit card charge or an awkward loan from a family member. An emergency fund was never really about being wealthy, it's about quietly buying time. And without that time, every unexpected expense turns into an urgent, stressful decision made under real financial pressure. Sign number 4, bills, bank statements, and account balances are being quietly avoided altogether, week after week. Notifications get ignored, mail piles up completely unopened, and the actual numbers never really get looked at directly. Avoidance genuinely feels easier in the moment, but it doesn't actually make the numbers disappear. It simply delays the moment those numbers eventually have to be dealt with, usually under far worse circumstances than before. Picture a stack of unopened mail sitting quietly on a kitchen counter for weeks, growing a little taller every few days, while the banking app's notification badge keeps climbing higher and higher without ever once being opened. The people who recover the fastest from real financial trouble are usually the ones who face the numbers early, however uncomfortable that feels, instead of letting silence buy them a false, temporary sense of comfort. Sign number 5, your entire financial life depends on one single source of income, with absolutely no backup plan whatsoever if that one source suddenly disappeared completely, and without any real warning at all. One job, one client, or one business quietly covering everything sounds stable on the surface, right up until the moment it isn't. A layoff, a lost client, or a slow season can instantly threaten an entire household's finances at once. Picture a single unexpected phone call, a layoff notice, or a lost contract arriving out of nowhere, and suddenly every other bill in life becomes connected to that one now uncertain source of income. True financial stability rarely comes from one single big source. It quietly comes from having more than one door to walk through if any single one of them ever happens to close. Notice the pattern running quietly through all 5 of these signs. None of them are one single dramatic moment. They're quiet, repeated choices that slowly compound over time until the pressure finally becomes impossible to ignore. Financial trouble almost never arrives all at once. It arrives slowly, one avoided bill and one ignored warning sign at a time, until the moment everything suddenly feels urgent and overwhelming all at once. Catching these signs early genuinely matters, because the earlier a problem gets faced honestly, the more real options actually exist to fix it, and the far less painful the eventual solution usually turns out to be. None of these 5 signs mean everything is already lost. They're simply a quiet signal to slow down, look honestly at the real numbers, and make a few small changes before the pressure ever builds any further. Losing everything almost never happens overnight. It happens one quietly ignored sign at a time. So tell me, which one of these 5 signs hit closest to home for you personally?